In this sport, you don't wait for judges to decide your fate. Tenn's token puts you in control. Stake instantly, speculate discreetly, and keep your moves private. Register now for your share of the $250,000 prize pool. Multiple winners, bigger chances. tenxtoken.io. Terms and conditions apply.
This is Joe Pugh for IFLTV. It's the afternoon after the night before. Gareth A. Davies, how are you, mate?
I'm not too bad. A little bit washed out today after a very long night, getting wet, or kind of slowly kind of drizzled on in the night, and then a little bit wet on the way home. Late finish, but I'm very well, and a brilliant occasion again, but for very different reasons last night at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Eubank
Yeah,
Ben 2.
fantastic night. Fantastic card. It really delivered. Main event, it wasn't as good as the first one, I think it's fair to say. But yeah, what did you make of it?
Well, if the first one was an A plus, this was a C minus for Chris Eubank and an A plus for Conor Benn, wasn't it? It was that the differential was that big from the first and second fights. Top line for me, taking nothing away from Conor Benn, who was magnificent on the night, and obviously producing the best Benn performance in 35 years, even though there's an argument that his father did win the second fight in 1993. Obviously did on one of the cards anyway, but he was magnificent, stuck to his game plan, was very smart throughout. But on the other side of the ring, Chris Eubank had either aged overnight, and this was the fight where he finally got old, or perhaps it was a very poor weight cut, and he didn't have anything in his body and the timing. He hasn't explained that yet. All he said is, I went through 2 months of hell, but he hasn't gone into the detail yet. And I suspect, Joe, he's waiting for the dust to settle to have a look at his body, see whether he got it wrong, because it's not beyond the bounds. I'm not saying I particularly want it, nor will people necessarily want it, but there could be a trilogy if he says he got the weight cut wrong. But my view is we're starting to see the danger signs of his weight cut, and certainly the danger signs of his age.
At what point did you realise, Gareth, in the first couple rounds, that it wasn't working for Eubank and it was going to be as one-sided as it ended up being?
Well, I scored it 10 rounds to 2 to Conor Benn. I scored it 118-108 with a 10-7 round at the end. I found 2 rounds to give to Eubank, but they weren't that convincing either. Annoyingly, my scorecard I left on the desk, but it is there on the Telegraph Live blog. But I'm pretty sure I scored it 10 rounds to 2 because I was scoring live on the blog. So it was the first 2 rounds. I thought, okay, Eubank's letting Ben blow out a little bit here and come after him, and he's looking to hit him on the counter, but the counter wasn't there, the timing wasn't there, and what we'd said all along was it's unlikely that Conor Benn outboxes Chris Eubank, was unfolding the opposite way in front of our eyes. I think 4 rounds in. It took me for about 4 rounds to realise that Eubank wasn't able to implement his physicality or his boxing skills. Now, I did note to Dave Allen, even next to me, there was very little head movement from him early on, and by round five, he just looked sluggish. And then from there on in, he looked disinterested, dishevelled, and when he tried to rally late in the fight, he had a couple of successes, but there were no sustained attacks. Conor Benn kept his shape, didn't get over exuberant, and then came on and dominated at the end. But it was self-evident halfway into the fight that he was in trouble.
Yeah, look, Chris made the weight this time, made both the rehydration and the initial 160 pounds, something he didn't do in the first fight. And I know it was a minuscule amount over, but why so different? Why do you think there's been such a stark contrast in performances over the space of 5 months.
Well, as I said, he's either aged overnight, as we say in
Mm.
boxing. Someone, when we say, for those the uninitiated, when we say that a fighter's aged overnight, he suddenly finds out, and maybe he knew it in sparring, maybe he knew it in camp, that the snap wasn't quite there. That's one possibility. The other thing is the weight cut was too bad for him, and it was a struggle the entire time, and he wasn't going to give over 500 or 400 grand this time for Conor Benn to buy another Rolls Royce, and was determined that he was not going to lose that money and forfeit that money, and that it was a very hard weight cut. I thought he looked quite lean on the scales at the weigh-in, at the ceremonial weigh-in, but then when I look at it again, you could also say he looks quite emaciated as well. He looks very thin. So in making the weight, in getting to do that at the age of 36 and boiling the body, as you know, he's not a small man, is he? He's a big middleweight. He has struggled, and it's taken it out of his body. The body is going to replenish anyway, and he's going to put on weight between the second day weigh-in in the morning. He won't have been able to eat a lot because that weight will be coming back on him anyway. So, because the body does that naturally afterwards, after you've cut. And I just think it's taken it out of him. So it might be both things. It might be one of them. But the reason why I'm saying it might be the weight cut is that he might find a reason for that not being his last fight, when on the night, in the moment, sometimes on the broadcast, you were wondering whether he should fight again, because he didn't look like a fighter or anything left. And you know, Conor Benn was beginning to dismantle him in that last round, and Eubank didn't have anything left. So I think it's a combination of both. Only he knows. But the fighter is the first one to know when it's gone, but the last one to admit it. So they need some truths in camp. They need to, in his team, they need to look at whether this is the end, or they might come out with, no, I want to put the record straight in the trilogy. It's not a trilogy anyone will want right now because of the paucity of action in last night's fight from Chris, as opposed to from Conor, who kept his shape, kept his game plan, and is being universally celebrated around the world. People over the pond a lot of people have been in contact as well, saying he looked magnificent. I don't think he wins a world title at middleweight, but he looked magnificent against Chris Eubank.
What does your gut tell you less than 24
Yeah,
hours
both.
after this fight? Does he
It's
fight?
a bit of both.
Does Eubank fight again?
Yeah, probably. But my gut is also telling me with him, he's stubborn enough and proud enough that he won't want to go out like that. Even though he's gone out with 2 fights. This year, he's earned 16 million. So he's got generational wealth there. He's got, you know, an incredible pension from boxing. So he doesn't need to fight again. He can do all kinds of businesses. He can do all kinds of things now. I thought he was magnanimous in defeat as well. I think the beef is squashed between the families. I think that's gone now. And Conor was magnanimous as well and very generous afterwards. There was no spite left afterwards. As Conor said, it's done for him. It's whether Eubank can deal with that from his standing as a man and a fighter and a family name Eubank, whether he can go out like that. I think it's dangerous for him to try and make that weight again and go on. They can't do it at an open weight at super middle or 165. That's not fair on Ben, frankly. And I don't want to see him make the weight again. They're such shrewd businessmen. If Turki Al Sheikh wants to invest again because he loved the atmosphere so much with Pierce Brosnan there and Guy Ritchie and Jason Statham and Rod Stewart, and all the stars came out, didn't they? Thierry Henry, all the stars came out. I saw Coogan fanboying with Thierry Henry. Good on him. I wanted to go and see Thierry as well. Did interview him in the past. He's a fantastic man. It was great to see all the guys there. If Turki Al Sheikh wants to do it again, and it's believable, I think they will do it again, because Eubank's maybe I don't say greedy enough, but I think he would fight again if that kind of money was on the line. I think he would make the weight cut again. But for me, it's dangerous for him now.
Did you see there was a little altercation before the fight between the fathers?
No, I didn't see that. What a genuine altercation.
A little bit, yeah. Apparently, Nigel Benn told Senior to fuck off, and Nigel
Well, that's all
spoke
right.
to
That's fine.
Coogan.
That's fine. Their sons are about to fight. Just tell him what you want.
Nigel said he'll never speak to him ever again.
Well, I mean, they've got a disagreement over whether Eubank Sr. was paid or not for that first fight, hasn't he? Because obviously Nigel, I think, had come out with saying he'd been paid to turn up for his son. Look, it was part of the build-up. It was one of the storylines. It was one of the narratives. Um, if he doesn't speak to again, then it really is done, isn't it? Because they're going to have to take a vow of silence if they do a third fight. My instinct is they won't. Um, And look, it was a very emotional moment when their sons came out. It was a very big moment, real lot of drama. We got the drums and the dancing fathers together. Then we had Fiddy Cent coming out, bringing Eubank in. I've met Fiddy before because he used to come to a lot of Bellator events. He's loves his fight sports. Why are you laughing? Because I said Fiddy.
50.
Fiddy. Well, he's not
50.
50. He's Fiddy. It's
Go
Fiddy
on.
Cent.
Say it one more time.
Fiddy Cent.
Right, let's park the trilogy up just for a second because it looks very unlikely. Where could Eubank Jr. go?
Well, he looks big now, so he looks like emboldened his neck and the traps here, and he certainly looks stronger and more physical at 160. Um, Again, as we've seen in the past, when fighters go up a few weight divisions, come back down, they're not always the same because they've got to strip the body of something that they built onto themselves. So. 154 is a big division right now with Jaron Boots Ennis, with Virgil Ortiz. Are the Charlos still? Is one of the Charlos still knocking? No, they're both at middle, aren't they? So welterweight, he could win a world title. People will still question whether he's world class or not, but that was a world class performance from him last night, even though Eubank wasn't world class last night, in my view. Ben. If Ben can go to welterweight, he'll win a world title, but he may not. See, he could go for really big fights now, and just it doesn't matter if he never wins a world title. Frankly,
Does he beat Lewis Crocker?
oh, it's a good fight. Um, what at 147?
Yeah, for his IBF title.
Oh, it's a really good. That's a really difficult pick. I think yes. I'd go yes.
Does he beat Barrios?
Yes.
Does he beat Ryan Garcia?
Ooh, that's a good fight. Um, no.
What's the one fight then you'd want Conor to have
Right,
next?
Ryan Garcia at Wembley
Yeah.
Stadium. What Ryan Garcia, Wembley Stadium. Get in the big fight, son. Get in here. You're 29. He's not 25 anymore. He's 29. He's lost two good years. I know he had two fights in Texas and Florida, or wherever it was, under the American license when he was banned or suspended here in the UK. He's not getting any younger himself. Just get the biggest fights out there now. No need to build. Big fights. Big audience. Him and Ryan Garcia would be enormous. Ryan Garcia's got a massive young following. Probably the youngest audience ever at Wembley for those two in a boxing match. Do you not like that fight, him and Garcia? I think it's brilliant.
I love that fight. Build up.
Brilliant build up, loads of energy.
Your
Bit of
mate
trash
Ryan
talk.
Garcia.
Hmm?
Your mate Ryan Garcia.
My mate Ryan Garcia. Well, at least he'll speak to me rather than slap the microphone away.
There's no beef with you and Conor, is there now anymore?
I tried to get him for Talk Sport last night, but he'd already done his family celebrations, and I ended up speaking to Tony Sims and Eddie Hearn, who are obviously really delighted for him, and I'm delighted for them. They've been through a lot in the last 3 years, so no, absolutely delighted for him.
You sorted out your beef with Eddie Hearn?
I haven't got a beef with Eddie Hearn, yeah? Eddie Hearn got on his high horse because I said that a fight with Jake Paul. Are you hearing as a press conference for it next week yet?
Yeah.
Um, I'm, all I said was Anthony Joshua fighting Jake Paul diminishes his legacy. It doesn't diminish his bank account. If he doesn't fight Tyson Fury next year and he doesn't do that warm-up fight and the Fury fight in the summer, and he just fights Jake Paul and he decides, you know what, I've just earned 50, 60 million that they're on about, and I'm not going to bother doing it again, then it diminishes the legacy at the end. He and Fury fighting Francis Ngannou, AJ fighting Ngannou, and Fury fighting Ngannou is a completely different thing to fighting Jake Paul. He'd been the UFC heavyweight champion. It was a crossover fight. Jake Paul is an influencer who might win an area cruiserweight title in the UK. It's a very dangerous fight. I've never condoned it when it was mentioned before. He's lost to Tommy Fury. Imagine AJ against Tommy Fury. It wouldn't get sanctioned, would it?
No.
And you know, Jake Paul and AJ wouldn't get sanctioned here. And again, Florida Commission. Look, it's a big event if it happens. I don't begrudge anyone earning big paydays when they deserve it. He's a big star. He's paid his dues in terms of what he's done in the ring, what he's done for British boxing. So it's a big payday, but it doesn't enhance. All it does is enhance his bank balance. And I don't agree with the fight. Anthony Joshua is a really dangerous punching heavyweight, really dangerous physical specimen. And I just worry for the health of Jake Paul getting in there. As he says, a lot of people want to see him smashed up. You know, that's why people will watch it. And AJ can't afford to go in there and dilly-dally around either. Because things like this have a habit of going wrong. I mean, I'm not in a million Sundays would I imagine Jake Paul ever beating Anthony Joshua. You know, I think he's 100 to 1 on or something, isn't he, AJ, to win that fight if it happens. But in terms of squashing the beef, I don't have any beef with Eddie Hearn. I don't think he's got one with me either.
Do you think you'll be allowed in the press conference next week?
Depends what day it is, because I'm going to Miami on Wednesday.
Okay. Nice bit of sun in Miami for you.
Bit of bare knuckle, yeah. BKB, bare knuckle, Florida Pines. But it's you know, that I hear that members of Jake Paul's team may be here Monday, Tuesday. You know, Turkey Al Sheikh was teasing Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua last night on a couple of clips of Ring, wasn't he? Saying they're looking at it in September. So hopefully all of it gets ticked off. Spencer Brown was there. I mean, Queensbury weren't there last night, or certainly Frank and George weren't there last night. So I'm sure there have been plenty of meetings in the last few days.
Right, two things before I let you go, Gareth. First of all, mad kind of outcomes from Friday with Joseph Parker and the adverse findings with traces of cocaine in his system of a test on the day of his fight with Fabio Wardley last month. Yes, I don't know what you can really say about it because we don't know much at all, but just a comment on that, Gareth.
Well, since I've written a story for the Telegraph on Friday, Joseph Parker's come out and made a statement, hasn't he? I've spoken to members of his team. I know he's desperately upset about it. He's made a statement saying he hasn't or never will take cocaine or banned substances. Obviously, it's an Indian competition. It's considered a recreational drug now, but it's banned in competition. He's very unlikely. I mean, why Joseph Parker sitting there at number 2 in the world with the prospect of fighting Alexander Usyk if he beats Fabio Wardley, obviously, which he didn't, would take a drug of that type in fight week is beyond me. But we don't know whether it's tiny picograms that have shown up or whether it's, you know, a significant amount. It only stays in the bloodstream, I believe, for 2 to 4 days. So I cannot imagine, other than contamination, him taking cocaine in fight week. And when I put the name Joseph Parker with it, someone who's had 8 fights in the UK, who I've known for probably almost 15 years, It just doesn't. I said to New Zealand TV last Friday night, if I was asked to compile a list of boxers that I suspected of doing that, he might not even make the top 100,
Mm.
you know? Yeah, but shocking news for him. Shocking news um, if it's upheld, because it's probably a 2-year ban if it is upheld. And he's 33 right now. And look what a position he was in, or has been in, and is still in a way. So yeah, very weird, and completely shocked by it, if I'm honest. And I think that Joe's a kind of significant figure on the British landscape, even though he's a New Zealander. And I think the whole of British boxing was shocked by it on Friday morning.
Certainly, and yeah, we'll hopefully find out more in the weeks to come. Finally, Gareth, massive card in Riyadh this weekend. So, just going to ask you the four main fights, four world title fights, and I want you to give me a little prediction, if that's all right, mate. So, start off with Sam Noakes and Abdullah Mason.
I really like Sam, but he's got a tough fight against Abdullah Mason, who I really rate. He's got to push the guy as hard as possible, but I think he'll give everything. Very proud man, Sam. If he wins, I'll be delighted for him. My heart is with Sam, but my head is with Abdullah Mason. Points victory or even a late stoppage.
Jesse Bam Rodriguez versus Fernando Daniel Martinez, unification
This will be
fight.
a better fight than people think. And Bam is in my. I think he's number 6 or 7 in my pound for pound. This will be a better fight than people believe till it stopped around 7 or 8 with a Bam Rodriguez victory.
Brian Norman Jr. versus Devin Haney.
Devin Haney points in a good fight. I like Norman, but I think Devin Haney, when he's on form, is arguably one of the best technicians in the world. He's got a lot to prove at the moment, and I think Haney points.
And finally, David Benavidez versus Anthony Yard.
I hope Anthony boxes clever in this, because I think if he goes out and tries to engage in a war with Benavidez, it's going to be a tough night because when you look at the arcs of their punches, Benavidez is a very direct puncher, very straight down the barrel, doesn't move an enormous amount, but is a volume puncher with heavy power. Anthony always entertains. I think he's got to try and be himself. But box a little bit clever in this, as I say. Again, heart is with our brilliant pal with the Lions in the camp, Anthony Yard. But I think this guy Benavidez is very special. He could potentially beat a Bivol or a Beterbiev. I think he might beat a Beterbiev, but maybe he doesn't beat a Beterbiev. No, I just felt there was a tongue twister coming up then. I'm not sure that Benavidez beats Bivol, but he beats Beterbiev, which is a bit of a tongue twister in itself. Eighth or ninth round stoppage for Benavidez.
Okay, Gareth, thank you very much. I know you're going to be in Miami this week, so we'll catch up at some point next week. Any parting words for the viewers of IFLTV at 3:25 on Sunday afternoon?
Well, apart from peace out, which we always do, peace out. If the press conference for AJ and Jake Paul does happen this week, I think most of us will be doing it from remote, because I'm not sure that many people are going to be in the UK in the media this week, because that's a big card in Riyadh. I'm going over to work the event BKB 48. Lucas Brown's fighting for the heavyweight title, by the way, against Gustavo Trujillo. So that'll be fascinating. Good on Lucas Brown. He's a late replacement, but he looked good in his debut for BKB. But no, just peace out, and celebrate the fact that in mid-November, going into the winter, British boxing fans came out, or sports fans came out, 60,000 of them, at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on a freezing cold night when there was rain prospectively coming down in the air. and made it another amazing night. We're blessed at the moment with a great run in British boxing, and probably because you've got the Americans peering over the pond there, looking, going, wow, these guys have got it going on, and we have got it going on, and we mustn't forget that.
Who'd win, bare
Congratulations, Conor
knuckle?
Benn.
Who'd win, bare knuckle? You already heard.
Make your mind up. No, I've never. You couldn't pay me enough money to hit Eddie Hearn, is the truth. I think he's a legend. I think he's an absolute diamond. He's a blessing in our sport.
All right, Gareth. Well, I'll see you soon, mate, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Cheers, Joe. Travel safe. Give Coogan my regards.
In this sport, you don't wait for judges to decide your fate. Tenn's token puts you in control. Stake instantly, speculate discreetly, and keep your moves private. Register now for your share of the $250,000 prize pool. Multiple winners, bigger chances. 10xtoken.io. Terms and conditions apply.